Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today. We're going to dive right in and unlock the mystery behind two of the absolute most foundational concepts in all of computer science. If you've ever wondered how your favorite apps, AI models, or even your operating system manages the sheer chaos of endless data, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're demystifying stacks and queues.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever been, typing an email, you make a massive mistake, and you frantically smash that undo button on your keyboard? Or, maybe you found yourself stuck waiting in a painfully slow line at the bank or a coffee shop. It might actually surprise you, but those incredibly relatable, everyday frustrations, they perfectly represent the fundamental computer science concepts we're exploring today. Basically, data structures are just the ways computers organize information so it can actually be used efficiently.
Moving on to our first section. Explain like I'm 5, the core concepts of data containers. So to really grasp how computers store and manage data, let's just strip away all the code for a minute. Let's look at this through the lens of the physical world. Picture a heavy stack of books or, stack of plates in your kitchen cupboard. If you want a plate, you don't yank one out from the very bottom. No way, the whole thing would literally come crashing down. You take the one right on top. The last plate you put on the stack is the very first one you take off. Now contrast that with a line at Starbucks or waiting for a bus. If you are the first person to get in that line, you're absolutely going to be the first person to get your coffee or get on the bus. It's entirely sequential, it's fair.
So here is the crucial point. LIFO. Last in, first out. This is the exact rule that governs a stack in computer science. Whenever a system uses a stack, the absolute last piece of data that was added to the container is the very first piece of data that gets removed or processed. Just like grabbing that top book or that top plate.
And on the flip side of that, we have FIFO, first in, first out. This is what defines a queue. Making a direct connection back to our Starbucks or bank line analogy, a queue ensures that the very first piece of data that enters the system is the first one to be served and exit the system. It basically guarantees chronological order. If data arrives first, it gets processed first. Sounds simple, right? But it is literally a game changer for computers.
Which brings us to the next part. Practical tech applications. How AI and software use these structures. Let's pivot for a second and see how these seemingly simple, everyday ideas actually power our daily digital lives in some incredibly complex software systems. Under stacks, we've got features that require reversing actions. When you hit undo, your computer is just popping the most recent action right off the top. The exact same thing goes for your web browser's back button or even a calculator app figuring out the order of operations in a really complex math equation. But for queues, well, think about sending 5 documents to a printer. You want them printed in the exact order you sent them, right? That requires the fair sequential processing of a queue. The same goes for your CPU scheduling background tasks, your phone popping up notifications in the order they arrived, or your browser piecing together file downloads.
All right, let's get a bit deeper. The underlying logic, how pushing, popping, and shifting works.
So let's dive down to the actual code level to see how these containers operate under the hood. And don't worry, I promise this will be an ultra-simplified walkthrough of the logic. Underneath it all, computer scientists generally use 2 main building blocks to create both stacks and queues. We have arrays and linked lists. Think of arrays kind of like a fixed row of mailboxes. They take up a contiguous block of memory and usually have a very fixed size. Linked lists, on the other hand, are more like a scavenger hunt. They use dynamic memory, where each piece of data, which we call a node, holds a pointer that directs you to the exact location of the next piece of data. Which one you use? Well, that depends entirely on how much memory you have and how flexible your data container actually needs to be.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is visualizing an array-based stack. It's truly fascinating. You can clearly see the stack is anchored firmly at the bottom of the array, right at the highest index. As elements are added, the stack literally grows upward toward the lower indices. And to keep track of where we are, the system maintains a simple cursor, or a pointer, called top. This top pointer always knows exactly where the very first accessible element of our stack is sitting.
And that brings us to the actual actions. If we want to add data, we perform what's called a push. We just insert the element and adjust that top pointer up 1 level. Boom, done. If we want to retrieve data, we perform a pop. We grab the data from exactly where the top pointer is looking, and then just drop the pointer back down a level. Push it on, pop it off. It is blazing fast, mostly because we never ever have to reorganize the data sitting underneath it.
But arrays get a little tricky when we talk about queues. See, if we add data to the rear and remove it from the front, over time, the whole queue kind of drifts toward the end of the array.
Eventually, you hit a literal wall and run out of space, even if the front of the array is totally empty. We call this the drifting queue problem. The brilliant solution? Just pretend the array is a circle. In a circular array queue, when the rear pointer hits the end of the line, it just wraps right back around to the beginning, endlessly chasing the front pointer in a circle. It elegantly, and I mean completely, eliminates wasted space.
And this brilliantly illustrates the other method, a linked queue. Instead of a rigid array, this one uses our scavenger hunt method, linking isolated nodes of data together with pointers. We keep one pointer permanently looking at the front and one looking at the rear. Because memory is allocated dynamically as these nodes are created, we can just keep adding data to the rear without ever needing to shift a massive, heavy list around in our computer's memory. It's super efficient.
The actions for a queue actually have different names than a stack, but they are just as straightforward. Picture our print job again. When you hit print, that document enters the rear of the line. We call this in queue. Then, when the printer is finally ready for its next job, it pulls the oldest document from the very front of the line, and we call this DQ. In queue at the back, DQ at the front. It creates this perfect sequential harmony.
All right, let's wrap this up. The takeaway: structuring your next big idea.
So, why does picking between a stack and a queue, or an array and a linked list, actually matter so much? We'll look at this quote directly from our sources on machine learning optimization. An optimized structure directly affects how efficiently a model learns and performs. Honestly, whether you're building a simple mobile app or a massively complex AI model, data structures are the bedrock. If you choose poorly, your software is going to eat up memory, bottleneck CPU tasks, and drag performance to a complete halt. But if you choose correctly, your software scales beautifully and runs at absolute lightning speed.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Think about the problems you want to solve in your own work. Will your next coding project need the time-reversing LIFO magic of a stack, or is it going to require the highly organized FIFO fairness of a queue? The difference between clunky code and a brilliantly optimized system literally comes down to this choice. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. Now, go take a look at your favorite apps and see if you can spot the hidden stacks and queues running right there behind the scenes.